We know they're ready. Are you ready? That's the question, because camp is coming next week on this night. You guys are going to be really, really primed. I certainly am. This is Dan Harms. I'm Ryan Tracy. This is RGR Football. Welcome to it. For all of you in Chiefs Kingdom, I know you know the deal, but those of you who are not, we've been getting a lot of fans from other bases lately, so welcome. Please keep it civil. We're going to have a good discussion. It's rough, I know, when you have to talk about a team that's, defending Super Bowl champions. So you Browns fans that are coming, don't worry. You can live vicariously. It's going to be all right.
It's going to be all right.
You Raiders fans, get the hell out of here. But the rest of it, we're going to have a little bit of fun tonight because it's inching down to the end of the offseason. I'm super pumped about it.
Yes.
I'm about to go on vacation. Dan's going to have you tomorrow night for the Q&A. Make sure you're here. Tonight, I haven't cooked in a while, but I'm enjoying this. This is a Colorado-style Coles from Mad Creek up in Steamboat Springs. If I can get the label to read, it's tough yellow
Right.
on white. But good beer, though. So I'm enjoying that tonight. I hope you guys are. I know Michael is in Colorado, so I hope he's watching.
Nice.
Having one as well. What do you got working tonight?
You guys, since I'm in the Kansas City area, we do have some nice boulevards over here. There's just a nice, simple, single wide IPA, clean, doesn't get too hoppy in the back end. Sometimes I'm just not in the mood for that. I just like to have a nice single wide IPA. It's very, very, very clean. I love that.
Yeah, hey, I grew up on their pale ale. I wish it still was the same. It's a little bit different for me now. I don't know if it's the distribution or if it's new ownership, whatever it is. But they have a lot of great beers that are local. I seem to only get the New Wit, and I still get the pale. That's fine. But lately I've been getting. I got the Rye on Rye special barrels. I got the last barley wine. So, like, for me, for the giant beer fan that I am, I love it. Yeah. I don't know why my distributor gets them.
Yeah, I don't even get that stuff for the most part. Like, we get the basic stuff that they keep in rotation and the new, like, the rotational seasonal beers. But yeah, we don't get like the specialty ones that you're getting over there.
I'm kind of digging it, man. Hey, everybody give a shout out to Gary Holland. Cole's here as well. I think FLDB, I think I saw him. Some of our mods are in the house. A lot of our members are in the house. Nice to see you all. We're going to get into it tonight because that's kind of the point that we're at in the season. It is final tune-up for quarterbacks and rookies. They're reporting on the 18th, 9 days from now. That's going to be here like tomorrow. So we're gonna get pretty fired up because they have to be tuned up, and like you don't have much time. Like you might be getting the last workout in now or next couple of days, and then they got to throttle it back to be ready. The conditioning test is looming, folks. So there's a lot of pressure there to be walking into camp ready. And so I am starting it tonight. I don't know how you feel, Dan, but I am officially on Chris Jones' watch as of this evening because it could happen anytime. And as soon as it does, all hell's going to break loose.
And I mean, we're going to talk a little bit here about one of the reasons I'm going to be on Chris Jones' watch is because the longer things go on, the longer you think, well, maybe he's waiting, or maybe they're waiting, or maybe the Chiefs are waiting, and maybe Chris Jones. There's a lot of things that can happen in the next few weeks and in the next month that could define how the Chiefs end up really pushing some chips in on this season. I'm very interested to see how it works out.
Yeah, it's just that linchpin, that centerpiece that's going to do it. Knight and Hunter, nice to see you. Brenda, I'm glad you're here. Cody, welcome. For you new faces, make sure you like and sub and hit the bell. If you want to get the MVP gear or the Rogue Nation gear that you can see Dan has, just hit it down in the store. It's in the description here, and you can also get it. Let's see if I can pull the banner up because you know me and on-demand clicking. It's not really my best thing, but it is here. No, I don't want to edit it. I just want to show it. Boom. There you go. And it is case sensitive. So when you type it in, just click the link in the description. It's super easy. And I actually typed it right. So that always helps. It helps when I'm doing things correctly. Now, Patrick and Kelce are one thing, right? Clearly, they're the focus of the organization. Everything that we are going to see new on defense, alignments, packages, etc. That's all coming, yes. But in preparation, everything now follows Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes, and that's it. I don't care if they're winning at golf or if they're just throwing the ball around the field. it still comes back to them. And so they're ready. And I know that they're putting the pressure on everyone else in the organization, especially the returning players, because you have a little bit more freedom to lean on them. You know what I mean? There's
right.
Professional expectation. What's really keen to me is what I want to know is on the defensive side, obviously without Chris participating. I know some of the guys are talking to him. They always do. That's perfectly normal. But what I'm really interested in is there's a couple of new guys that are going to be key. And my mind immediately goes to Drew Traquil. And it's because he's been around the league. It's because he's played against this team. And he has an opportunity. And what I would be hammering home right now, if I were Chris or Nick Bolton or Justin Reed, or certainly any of the offensive stars, is we need you to come in and contribute to get us back. If we repeat this, you're going to get credit for being on the repeat team. No one's going to care or remember that you weren't on the team that just won it last year.
Yeah.
You're going to be the guy that helped us come back, because him and Charles Omenihu are the two big additions on the defensive side that can kind of balance things out. That's what I'm sure is going through a lot of heads right now. I think it could be the difference. Like you said, a lot is going to hinge around the Chris decision. And I know we'll have questions about what happens after Chris Jones' extension or not, and et cetera, et cetera. We'll get to that. But for me, it's got to come from a little bit more internal. You got to put pressure on those new guys that do have the experience and understand the professionalism and the transition to getting going to try and run it back. That's key for me.
Yeah, and the guys that were on the team in 2019 and 2020, there aren't very many of them left, but the ones that were there in 2020, you know what it takes to get back to a Super Bowl. Try to impress upon the younger players as well. Look, this is not a roller coaster ride in terms of, yeah, we were up there and now we can go back down because we just won the Super Bowl. No, that's not what this is about. This is about continuing to push that line to get better, to get back into the Super Bowl, because we all know, as much as it feels great to win a Super Bowl, it feels great to win two, and it feels great to continue to be in that run. And that's what they're all about. This is legacy for this team right now. They're about making a Patriots type of run. That's what they are about now. When you have a team that sets that precedent and you are budging up against what they have done, and in some senses they did what the Patriots never did in hosting 5 straight AFC Championship games. They've never been done before. Now you're pressing the gates of history. They can do that. They can continue to do that. So they all know what it takes to get back. And the great thing is that they have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, who are the two biggest vocal leaders that have done it, have been there, been to the mountaintop. They got back and they got their asses whooped second time around. They're not going to want that to happen this year, so they're going to have to be ready, and they know what it takes.
And that's the key. It's about understanding what that mountain is that you have to climb, and attacking it in a smarter way. Anybody who's got any mountaineering experience, like I grew up in Washington State for a while. I've been up to the top of Rainier, right? And it's not like the hardest mountain. It's not Denali, but it's technical, and you have to have a plan for how you climb that mountain, even though it's people do it every year. I've done it multiple times. That is the same thing with the football season. It is that mountain that you got to have a path to get there, and that's key. I think as it all comes down, it all feeds in together, and we're just starting to get that rumble in your gut is something that the players are starting to feel as well. So just roll with it, enjoy it. It's going to be a lot of fun. But man, if you guys would hit the like button, I appreciate that. Super Devil Juice. One of my favorite names in all of our Rogue Nation fandom. I appreciate you guys. I want to give you a couple of new hints, a couple of new things that I can show you. One is, if you guys are into the threads thing, it's the new profiles that started over on competing with Twitter on like Instagram Lite. It's Instagram's Twitter is what I keep calling it. You can find Dan and I on our normal handles. Right, Dan, you have the same handle as on Twitter, right?
Make it simple and easy for everybody.
Knock on wood. I actually couldn't get RGR. I had to get a different one. Yeah, somebody stole it. So it was interesting. But so I've got a handle for that as well, same as the Instagram. And you can find us here on both of the handles that we have down here. Same thing on Threads. Those are new links that I just put up over here on my link tree. I just started link tree. I don't even have the images up yet. But this is cool because the nice thing they just added is support to just watch the latest video. And that's the top button. If you click it, it launches it instantly. Well, mostly instantly. So you can just come in and watch it right there from Linktree. You don't have
Nice.
to do anything
I
else.
like it.
But if you're somebody who's heard us talk about NFL 33 and the other things that we do and you don't see it, it's all right here now, including the gear store. You can get that. You just want to get us a cup of coffee, you can do that as well. So it's all here, and I'll be adding to it and maintaining it. And that happens to be a good thing here because Secret Service is after me a little bit because they're a little fired up that I'm promoting them so much. They like to keep it under wraps. They like to be the unsung heroes. Well, I'm singing, and you can sing too. You can check out all the guys there, as well as our normal gear over on the gear store. You can check that out from Linktree as well. So, Dan, I don't know if you use Linktree or not. I'm intrigued by it. I'm just getting going, though.
I actually haven't. I see everyone else using it. I guess I probably should do it, considering how many places we put content, and it would be easier to keep track of using it that way. So, definitely something I'll be looking into in the next week or so.
I'm glad you say that. and David, you had a good question, like why bother? And that's because I just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
What Dan and I use is Twitter a lot for our only social media. I'm not huge on Facebook because it's so big. Like NFL social media is centered on Twitter. If that changes, we need to be prepared to jump so we can communicate with you guys easily and not just when we're live. So that's why, David. So if you don't want to get on Threads, I don't blame you. This was a reluctant participation on my part.
Exactly. Like there's been quite a bit there. It would have been different had there not been such a mass flux of people go over to Threads. There were tons and tons and tons of people going over there. So the fact that there are that many people, it's a little bit different. And because we don't have an absolute definition of what's going to happen here on Twitter, regardless, it's just more of a in case, like Ryan said, we just want to be ready in case that does end up happening.
Yeah, because we want to stay connected to you guys. So if Twitter should go down, whatever, you can always find us here. But some folks do talk to us during the week, through social media. So Tracy, you're absolutely right. Facebook is a parent company for Instagram and this new Threads thing. So Meta, right? I forget about that. FLDB, happy to see you. Everybody give FLDB a hand. He and Gary, our mods, are in the house. Cole's in here too. Aaron will be back eventually. He's got some personal things going on, and we're holding on for him. So not a worry about that. But our attention turns to what happens this season. And that is where Jay is starting in. The top of our questions. Remember, every Super Chat gets an answer. So if you guys want to help us out and support us, hit that Super Chat. Along with everything else, you'll definitely get an answer tonight. We'll try to answer all the other questions as well, so you don't have to participate. But if you want to support us, we appreciate it. Jay's talking about, do you think they make a play at D-Hop after the Chris Jones thing? And I'm adding to you, Jay. I'm not trying to hijack your question, but that's because we know they're at $868,000 right now. That's all they have in cap space. That's not enough to sign a rookie. So if there's an injury in camp with the rookie class, they couldn't go out and pick up a street free agent for that. So they have to sign Chris. The question's going to be when. I did see some comments in there that a lot of folks are starting to feel like it's coming later. Don't be too worried about that. This is exactly where we were a couple years ago. I think it was 2019, where Chris signed the day before camp opened.
Yeah.
So it's normal. One of the old lines in the NFL, especially with agents, is that deadlines make deals. And a lot of folks don't get working. They've been on vacation some this summer. Since OTAs, the guys have been out in the islands and doing stuff and trying to get some downtime. They'll come back just a couple days before. But it could be from tonight to anywhere forward here, depending on what Chris is doing. Chris was in town. In fact, if you guys missed it, we talked about it 2 weeks ago on Monday night, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
He was in town for the barbecue fest. So he's been staying visible and staying in touch. So I think that's a good sign. All that said, once it's said and done, I still feel the same, Dan. I don't know if the summer's done anything to dull your spirits about it, but I do think that they make an inquiry at least. I think they're talking to him. The fact that the two teams that seem to be most interested in D-Hop are the Chiefs and the Bills, and neither of them have any cap space right now, that's screaming to me why he hasn't taken a contract yet.
Yeah, it feels more like there's a couple other questions in here from Tracy and Jonathan Light. They're all talking about DeAndre Hopkins. So we're going to try to take care of some of these all at the same time, not trying to make you guys feel less out there. So Jay, thank you for your question. Jonathan, thank you for yours as well. Reports about Kansas City staying in touch with with DeAndre Hopkins and then Tracy's here. Media says D-Hop is still talking to the Chiefs. So all in all, I think the big thing that DeAndre Hopkins wanted to do is that get out there that, look, I'm willing to listen to offers. I'm willing. But I think that it comes back to the same places that he's trying to push teams to make that push for him. Much like Odell Beckham did. The Ravens came in with a bag and dropped it down and said, hey, guess what? We're signing you. No one else is going to do that. I think DeAndre Hopkins is trying to get a team to make a push to do that, whether it's the Chiefs, whether it's the Bills, trying to make them move the money around because he knows that the Chiefs, for example, don't have the money to sign him. So they have to do some things. So he was, going around and getting his work in and a couple of visits, and then he stopped. What does that tell you? That tells me he didn't get the offers he wanted, and he may have heard some inklings of, maybe some other teams are trying to move some money around. Okay? That would be what I would assume. So he's playing it safe right now, playing it close to the chest, just kind of sitting back, waiting. Another thing, if people are a little worried about the Chris Jones situation, why would he have shown up at that barbecue event if he was in dispute with the Chiefs? Why? There would be absolutely no reason for him to show up at that and to announce to the entire world that he was in Kansas City on his Instagram saying, hey, look, everybody, I'm here in Kansas City, not somewhere else on vacation. Say, hey, Chiefs, I'm over here in like Costa Rica or somewhere else in the United States, like maybe in, I don't know, Buffalo or something like that, trying to get them to talk to him. So the fact that he was in Kansas City openly talking about it, it leads me to believe that it's all just a matter of time until he gets signed. So I personally, much like in 2019, I'm not worried about it. We've been through this. I'm not worried now.
I'm not either. I'm feeling out actually pretty good about it because I think this is allowed the time to soak in that Chris needs to get his. He also, I think, is probably very open to. Chris has always been big on putting together, making the band all it can be, right? So yeah. I think, especially if they're talking to him still, and they're like, hey, we got D-Hop on the phone, like as soon as we can figure you out, we'll figure him out. Exactly. I'm sure Chris Jones is into that because I think at the end of the day, I don't feel like he's quite as intense as Frank Clark. I think he's more of kind of a loose, kind of relaxed kind of dude, right? But I still think he wants to win championships. I think he understands that he has gotten to the point where he's with the best chance for him to put more rings on. And I don't think he's going to put that in jeopardy in any way, shape, or form. I think he's had a good run. I think he likes Kansas City. So I'm not worried about it either. Not at all. And when it happens, we'll let you know. It'll probably happen while I'm at the lake this week or next week, folks.
But by the way, both of us are going to be on vacation almost at the same time. That is when it's going to happen. That's when it's going to happen. We're both going to be away.
We're traveling for sports for a couple of days, and then we're going to be on a quick camping trip. I will have connectivity while I'm gone. So if it does happen, make sure you get over here right away because I'll go live as soon as I hear, and we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Patrick, thank you for your question. 2 weeks from training camp, and football's back. So you're flying by. So excited to get back to Arrowhead. Yeah, and that's going to be cool because, as I understand, there's new cup holders. There's something going on like an additional in some seats and that kind of stuff. I don't know where that works, but I'm looking forward to getting back to Arrowhead. Still trying to figure out if I'm going to be able to make it to camp this year, but Arrowhead's definitely on my list this year. So I'm trying to figure out the best time to come. So you guys let me know, what are the games you're most looking forward to, and I'll try to see if I can make an appearance at some point.
We are going to be going to the Chicago game because we're going to bring our daughter for her first Chiefs game, and this is the only noon game on the schedule before it gets too cold out. So that's the game that we're going to this year. My wife's getting back from her TUI right before that, so that's when we're going. I don't know about y'all.
That's awesome. Oh man, yeah, you're gonna have to do a little bit of shooting. Wait, how is she? She's 5? No, she's 4.
She's 4.
Okay. All right. We're going to talk about that. I got an idea because my daughter's first football game was Patrick Mahomes' first Chiefs game.
Fantastic.
And kudos to the Broncos PR. I appreciate you guys very much. They let us on the field after the game, and they were very helpful, very gracious. Chiefs PR can't even give me a credit. Broncos PR will let me on the field. A little bit different scenario. But I have pictures of my daughters at that point in their first game and Patrick's first game. So that
That's
could
awesome.
be kind of cool to watch. Mine aren't quite as blonde though, so they're not the actresses either. But that's okay. Patrick, I hope you're fired up. I'm looking forward to knowing when everybody's going to games. Cody asks, what position group are you most excited about going into training camp? You go ahead.
I love this. I love these questions. They're always my favorite because they change almost every single week. Right now, exactly, like we're getting into this stuff and trying to figure out. I think right now I'm interested. I'm more excited to see the wide receivers. I'm getting so excited because we have a lot of younger guys that are looking to take steps forward and prove themselves. And then you have some veterans that are also trying to make the team and see what they can do. But Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney are the two guys, and Rashee Rice are really the three guys that I'm really looking forward to seeing how they're going to take that step in training camp, what they've been working on. We know Sky has been with Sky and Kadarius for the most part have been with Patrick down in Texas. They've been working with him and getting through their the training regimen with Bobby. So we do know that Sky has been working very, very heavily on his craft and doing it with Patrick Mahomes, like right by his side. So he's going to understand what he wants. That's like the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing of this entire offense is if you know what Patrick wants and you know how to get it for him, not only are you going to get on the field, you are going to get targets. You're going to get targets. You're going to get those first downs and those chain moving type things. So very excited to see how they look. Hopefully, Rashee Rice has recovered. He can play almost at full speed. I want to see how he looks. And then Kadarius Toney. I've seen him. I saw a video today of him cutting, doing the same stuff that he was doing when he got hurt. I don't know, man. I'm very worried about him. So I want to see how he looks, what they're going to do with him, and all the things they use him for. Because, and this is a little more from a fantasy football perspective, people are really penalizing him because he's going to get schemed in touches. I don't know if you guys realize, but it's 2023. It's time to stop. I'm including myself for this. It's time to stop penalizing people because they're going to get scheme touches. Great, good athletes are going to get scheme touches. That's just how it works. Travis Kelce doesn't really get crapped on for being schemed open like 95% of the time, but here we are. I think Kadarius Toney, again, in a full off season with the playbook, he'll have a better route tree, and even if he doesn't, I'm excited to see the different ways that they used him. They used him a ton of different ways last year, so I'm pretty excited.
I am as well. I'm excited to see the front because I feel like they've gone out of their way to bring in players that aren't at a set position. Amenahue can play multiples. Felix can play multiples.
Versatility, man.
Karlaftis plays multiples, right? Like, I'm interested to see, like, are they going to double down? Are we going to see a 5-man front? Are we going to see a bear front? We're gonna have something special for you. Dan's done a lot of work in getting a great guest in the next couple of weeks. You guys are going to see it. And if you do listen to the Athletic podcast, you recognize that one of the trends that's coming back is one of my favorite fronts in the world, and that's the bear front. When you send 5 guys and you play man behind it, that's one of my favorite things. This team they could go 3-man front, they can play their normal 4, they could go to a 5 and still be productive. So that's the thing that I'm most excited about is who stands out, who shows me that they have the juice. That's what I'm looking for. And I will be watching D-line from the moment I walk into camp. They are generally guys that I wait a little bit. I usually watch quarterbacks and receivers first. That's just my normal process, right? I'm going to switch that up this year, and I'll be watching D-line first.
All right, cool. I don't know when it's going to be, but my daughter and I will be at training camp. I'm just trying to figure out when it's going to be. My wife's not going to be here, so she can't watch her for me. So I will be bringing her to one of the training camp days. I just got to figure it out.
And I tell you what, she's a good football watcher, man.
She tries. When she really does.
When she'll watch Senior Bowl practice with me, that's pretty good.
Yeah,
my girls won't do that, and they're 14. Des, thanks for the question, buddy. What's the max amount of cap space that will actually be freed up by the extension? And I will show it to you over here. And that is this. In Chris's, I should probably blow that up a little bit. Let me get in there with a little zoom factor here. So here's where he's at. And here's the magic number and why this has to happen now. He's 29 years old. Yep. It's got to go on now. And right now, his cap number is at $28 million 0.3-ish. So this is the max number that they could recover. That's not necessarily likely because that would require going down to a vet min base salary. And when they've done this in the past, they haven't quite gotten all the way down to the bottom like that. Yeah. They generally come in around 5 mil, something like that. So you're not stacking it so heavily. So my guess is they're going to recover somewhere between 16 and 18 and have that space available. And so then you start talking about what does D-Hop cost? Like, how can you spread that out? Could you do multiple things? What does Carlos want to come back? I think Carlos is also a guy hanging out in a bucket hat, just chilling at his restaurant, right? Like he's waiting for that too.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we're in agreement there. Brother Rick, how are you? Thanks for the support. I appreciate you. I believe the Chiefs will wait to see what they have in the wide receiver before taking a shot at D-Hop. Personally, I prefer that they put the money in Snead. And that's a fair argument. It doesn't necessarily have to be one or the other, but that is a fair argument, Rick. I agree that I want Snead back. Does it have to happen right now? I would prefer that it did because it saves you money in the long run. Every day that he's not signed is more money. But here's the thing. They can do both. If they extend Snead, they can drop him down as well. And I think he's here. I'll have to pull Snead's contract up. But I believe they can probably save, I think he's 2.4 against the cap this year. And they can probably get that down to 1.7, save themselves, a signing bonus anyway for a star like D-Hop, and still get him extended for multiple years. That's what I'd be trying to do. I was wrong. His max number is 2.9. So they could save about 1.5 mil. And that's every dollar helps if you're trying to sign somebody like DeAnthony Hopkins. Or DeAndre Hopkins. That'd be even better.
I was about to say. We got some
Lord.
DeAnthony Thomas and DeAndre Hopkins crossover player. Honestly, I would love to see that kind of player. Or what they kind of do already in Kadarius Toney. That's kind of how they do. That's kind of how they have it right now, at least in his athletic ability.
I was always a Dat guy. I always
me too. So. I loved him. He was great. I was a McFoster guy too. So
yeah, I just always wanted to feed him every time I saw him. So it is what it is. Gary, glad that you're here, buddy. There are so many contracts next year. What players do you see get the contract next year? Whew, that's a whole different conundrum, Gary. Let me see if I can pull that up as well, because the Chiefs free agent list in 2024 is a little bit scary, and I don't want to alarm anyone, but they should get, we're expecting about 35 million in cap relief, right? As the cap goes up, structuring both Mahomes and Mr. Jones, not to quote you guys a Counting Crows song, but I know you guys know that. Hi, Miss Avery. Hi. I'm trying to get this. Okay, so here's the 2024 free agent list. I will put this up so that Dan can say goodnight to Little Miss. Let's see here. It's bigger that way, Gary. So here you go. Chris Jones, Mike Edwards, Donovan, they're on 1 year. Drew Tranquil's on a 1 year. Obviously, the end of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Tommy's going to be back on the list. Turk's going to be on the list. Willie Gay Jr. is going to be on the list along with Snead. We all know about Snead. Willie Gay Jr. is under the radar right now as a guy that's going to need a contract if they want to bring him back. Blaine Gabbert's only on a 1 year. McKinnon, as we know, he's generally on a 1 year. The guy that I'm really intrigued about is if Richie James plays up to what we're hearing, they're going to have to give him a contract as well. So then you get into L'Jarius. He's going to be there. Jody.
Yeah.
Not that Lamar Jackson, but our Lamar Jackson. And then you get into Bichelle. Boodle's been here for a bit. Mike Dana has to come back, in my opinion. I know you probably agree, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I do.
And then we get into a couple of the guys that I think should be back, like Najee Johnson. I know it's crazy, but he'll be restricted rights, but that's okay. Or exclusive rights, sorry. But there's going to be some question marks there. I don't know about Malik Herring. I'm going to be interested to see that as well. Let me get that right. So there's enough going around. They're going to have to do something. And this all goes back to Rick's question is how do you free up that space? Because the free agents are going to be there. and you got to get that done. So, Rick, thank you again. We appreciate you. Gary, thank you. We appreciate you. I think the hierarchy for me, Dan, is Snead, then Willie. No, I lied. It's Snead, then Dana, then Willie, I think.
Interesting. I like how you I love Mike Dana, but if Willie Gay puts it together this year, another if situation, he is in front of Mike Dana because of what he does athletically and coverage wise. Mike Dana is a good player. He's a replacement level player that you can draft just about anywhere on day 3 where he was drafted and play a rotational player. They also might have drafted his replacement in BJ Thompson if he develops, which with more pass rush upside. So there's that to consider as well.
Okay. Fair enough. Maybe I did have it right the first time. You talked me back into it. Well done. Why are people dissing Rice's ability as a threat? Didn't he play on a turf toe? He did, Lachlan. I think he had a high ankle at one point as well, if I remember correctly.
Quite a bit of foot problems last year.
Yeah. I honestly think it's just because you get knocked, and I'll tell you this, I did it in my evaluation. I knock you for playing at SMU. It's just the fact of the fact. You're not playing the SEC or even the Big 12. So you get a ding. That's just the way it works.
If you compare him to like Sky Moore, the thing about these two players, if you're going to play in a small, quote unquote, smaller school, you need to be a dominant player every time you step on the field. Every single time. You need to be dominating everybody. And Rashee Rice did not do that. He didn't. He was very inconsistent. He did not create a ton of separation. He did not catch everything through contact. He did not just dwarf everybody. He showed a ton of downfield potential with his 50-50 catches. He turned a lot of them into like 65-35 catches. He was doing that, but he was not consistently a yak threat, and he wasn't like the best player out there all the time. He wasn't. If you were at a smaller school, you have to be dominating players. I'm sorry. That's just kind of how it works. Sky Moore was a dominant player. He was dominating everybody, and he was a junior when they drafted him. Rashee Rice was a senior. True. These things that they're small, minuscule, different things that we take into account, but there are reasons that players sometimes stay to their senior year. There are reasons that sometimes they don't get the accolades they are, and sometimes when you don't dominate other opponents at SMU in a pass-happy offense, some things are meant to be taken with a grain of salt. While I'm excited about his potential, there's a reason I did not have a second-round grade on Rashee Rice.
Okay, fair enough. I think there's potential to grow into it, and so that does mean something there. I'm just scanning real quick because I want to be able to answer the next question. At least I think it's the next question. How you doing, Ray? Nice to see you. What would be some target areas for the team to address in the 2023-24 offseason? Stop me if you've heard this before. Edge rusher, left tackle, coverage linebacker.
I don't think edge is going to be up there in 2024 offseason, though. They have now drafted in the first round back-to-back years. Omenihu is going to be here. That's 3 guys. I don't think they have to draft anybody on day 1 or maybe even day 2, depending on how it plays out.
Definitely not day 1. I agree with you. I still think day 2, but that's just me. I'd rather have more than not.
Yeah. Again, I would just continue drafting tackles and continue drafting defensive ends. See what sticks. But running back is going to – don't be shocked if the Chiefs take a running back in the 3rd round. They have had success drafting running backs in the 3rd round, and considering that their running back room next year might just be Isaiah Pacheco, there's a very good chance that they draft a running back late day 2, early day 3 next year.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I'm just kind of frustrated by it, but it is what it is. At some point, they got to get some ground game that they can rely on. I think Pacheco can be there. It's just the injury, the thing that he played well despite of that. Yeah. That kind of set me a little bit with some unease.
I'm a little worried about the Chiefs' collective group of injured running backs. I won't lie.
Yeah, I'm with you. Devil Juice, hope you're well. What are the chances that we pick up a left tackle before the trade deadline? I think it's about 1%. I think they're happy to have a veteran unless Donovan Smith gets hurt. I don't think they're looking to acquire another one. I think they're trying to force Lucas Niang and Wanya Morris to figure out, can one of you do this job? I don't think they want to move Jawaan Taylor over there, although it is a viable option. I think he can make the transition, but I think you want to have a left tackle. My gut says they have their guy in the next draft. I will not be surprised if we see the Chiefs trade up to draft a left tackle of the future in this next coming draft. It might take a first and a second. It might take a lot, and I think they're prepared to do it. Because as we talked about last week, everything is off the table except protecting Patrick Mahomes. It's job number one. It's the only thing you must do. I think they just might have to bite the bullet and really overpay for it.
Yeah, and I think they tried to not do that this year, and it kind of bit them a little bit. They didn't. Their draft may not have gone exactly the way that they wanted it to. So yeah, you might be right in the sense that they might just have to go up into the top 15 and say we don't have a choice. We have to now, because if Patrick stays up, guess what? Super Bowl bound, baby. Like, that's what this is.
Yeah, no question about it, right? I mean, and in the end, I do think that they kind of have their guy. And I don't necessarily know that it's the legacy guy. There is a legacy guy in this coming draft, legacy to the Chiefs. I don't know if he's that guy, but he might be. He might not be. There's two elite tackles in this coming class, in my opinion, from what I've seen as sophomores and juniors. We'll see what else happens. Every now and then, every year, there's somebody that just kind of pops out. The fact that Jared Verse from Florida State went back is, I mean, hey.
Yeah, okay.
I was going to use a name, but if you're going to throw it out there. So all of you that are hoping, yes, I think it's definitely on the radar. Steve, how does Mike Dana fit into the defense in the rotation, starter or backup? They've started him in places I didn't expect them to, or at times I didn't expect them to. But right now, you have him as a backup, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. It should be a Menahue on the outside to begin with on first down. I don't know about second down, and certainly not third down, because he's going to be inside next to Chris.
Yeah, you're going to probably. I think you're going to see him and Mike Dana switch starting like first down quite a bit, because I'm not sold on Menahue being every first down role player on the outside. I think that his run defense needs some work, and Mike Dana is a guy you can count on to do his job and do it well in the run game. So I think that he's going to be mixing in there more than most people may have thought.
Yeah, I hope so. And here's the thing is, I think a rotation on the D-line is good no matter what.
It's great. It's fantastic.
I mean, yeah, the guy that I don't want to pay for because he's going to be a free agent after this year, I don't think Carolina can keep him. But Brian Burns is like the next version of Von Miller, right? Who was the next version of Derek. And I know Joe Cullen and Steve Spagnuolo are going to go to blows over him when he hits the free agent market. And I think he's going to, because if I were him, I wouldn't want to stay in Carolina either. You're not going to get paid.
So I'm not so sure you're right about that.
No?
There are lots of things happening in Carolina. I would not be surprised if they won the division this year. And we're surprising. I think that they have a lot of good things. That coaching staff is going to elevate a lot of the young problems that they might have. They have a young offense. They have a quote-unquote young offense. They have a young defense. I think the Panthers are in a good spot to actually be competitive in that division going forward with Bryce Young. And I think that they might end up paying him, especially if they do well this year. Wild card or division win. I think that he definitely could stay there.
Well, I hope you're wrong. So there.
That's fine. That's fine. I hope I'm wrong too. I want him in Kansas City. I won't lie.
There's always that. At the end of the day, you lose an argument. Fine.
Yeah.
Kodiak, how do you guys see the RPO evolving within the Chiefs offense this year? That's interesting. Dan, you have thoughts?
Last year. They did it last year. Oh, you guys, thank you, Cody. I appreciate this because I'm going to talk about this in my film room on Wednesday. But we'll talk a little bit here. The 248 of you that are here will get a little sneak preview because the Chiefs decided last year, well, we were running RPOs against the Bengals in the AFC Championship game, and they kept sitting in the passing lanes and getting picks and getting hands on footballs. We don't want to do that anymore. That's not fun. So instead, we're going to hand the ball off on RPOs because guess what? We get light boxes. The Chiefs, and fun enough that they this is just a tidbit I'm going to throw in there. They played 13 personnel. They were the most efficient offense in 13 personnel last year, and they faced light boxes out of 13 personnel last year. And so they decided, oh, okay, so you guys are so scared of Patrick Mahomes, we're going to line up and still run these RPOs, but we're just going to hand the ball off for 7-8 yards at a time. So we did see them do it last year. They finally identified it, and Patrick was more than willing to just hand it off to Isaiah Pacheco, to Jerick McKinnon, and at the beginning of the year, Clyde Edwards-Helaire to get 5, 6, 7, 8 yards. And then defenses are just standing there, all right, if that's what you're going to do, we're not going to let Patrick beat us that way. That's what defenses want them to do. So they really did adjust that last year with their RPO game. And also RPOs are being forced kind of downfield a little bit more. More teams are dropping those defensive ends, making those linebackers sit in those windows. So RPOs are kind of being pushed another 5 yards downfield. If I were to say the next evolution of that would be to maybe hit some deeper windows on the RPOs. That's what I would say.
Yeah, the bigger overs. And for those of you that are like, what the hell are you guys talking about? When you drop a defensive end, you can only get a defensive end, even if he is like a Brian Burns type that's really an outside linebacker, you can still only get him about 8 yards deep in the time that an RPO is going to take to make the read, pull it out, and make the throw, right? So it limits how deep you can get with your zone coverage. But by doing it more often, you are forcing the quarterback to A, hold the ball a little bit longer, and B, take that deeper over or a deeper route. I won't even be surprised if they give a little shake and not like a true double move, but like a hitch and then attack on that over slant or that quick drag, that thing that allows the quarterback to read where they are dropping and run the RPO off of that. But you're right. The league itself is a passing league. We say that all the time because it's true. But the pendulum swings back as well. And now you're starting to see that, what was it? I can't remember who threw out the stat. It might have been Barnwell. It might have been your guest that's coming up. I can't remember. The most efficient run game in the history of the league was last season. Because when they did run, they were able to get huge chunks because of the way that the defenses are being played and not playing 5-man fronts, playing 3- and 4-man fronts and putting everybody into coverage. That just gives you 8 yards. It's there for the taking. Take it.
It's cyclical, man. The NFL is just this big old circle, and the run game's coming back, except this time, fullbacks, no. 4 tight ends and 13 personnel. Yes.
Did you just have to throw that in there to hurt me? Is that what that was?
I did. You know how it is.
Teddy, thanks for the support, buddy. Appreciate you. Do we really want Snead extended? Given their record of drafting decent DBs, I'd rather not spend money on a corner and save that for the 2021 class, as we were talking about before, where you have Creed and Trey and Bolton. And that's after this Willie Snead thing. Okay. So, Teddy, I get where you're coming from. My only qualm is going to be finding a 4th-round corner that plays and develops to the level of L'Jarius Sneed is rare. The fact that they have Jalen Watson, who I do like and I do expect to become a quality starting corner, I don't see his ceiling as good as L'Jarius Sneed, in my opinion. Yeah. I could be wrong, but I'm saying those unicorns you try not to toss. Especially if you can get that discount. Maybe they can't. And maybe L'Jarius, for all of his reasons, wants, generational wealth that he can pass on to his kids and help his family now. His family's been through a lot since he was drafted. Yeah. And so there is that kind of thing. So I can understand where you're coming from. I'd still, myself, spend it on a guy I know.
It's all about how, like I said, how much we're talking. If you can get him at that quote-unquote discounted price, maybe even during the season, maybe it happens sometime during the season because you can still do that. That's not out of the question. It's about how much you're going to end up paying him. If he wants $20 million a season, okay. Well, L'Jarius, we love you. You were fantastic. But you can go test the market and see how much you're going to get there because that's just not going to happen here, especially considering they have built-in kind of things to deal with that. Go back to the Bengals AFC Championship game this past year where L'Jarius got hurt. They did a pretty good job. They did a pretty good job with their playing their defense. So they kind of have a built-in, well, if you want to get paid, it's not going to be here. Because we have shown that we can deal without you if we have to. They don't want to, though. Yeah. I don't think they want to do that. I don't think it's anywhere.
Think so either.
We're within it. So I would like to extend him again. 16, 17, sign me up.
Okay. Yeah, I can live with that as well, especially because I know the structure will allow it to be down the line. He'll grow into that,
and the cap's gonna keep going up.
Yeah,
gonna go up.
So just to circle back, because Dad had a good point. So you think Bryce Young with that particular receiving crew is ready to be that good to get them a division win?
Well, not just not necessarily the receiving core is excellent. The division's awful. It's a terrible division. And all you need to do is kind of show that you can compete in a bad division to make a team, a front office, a Dave Tepper who loves to throw around money, want to do it. But I do believe in Bryce Young. I do believe that Bryce Young is a good quarterback.
No, I think he's good too. I do feel like there's a little bit of a transition he's going to have to go through. A
little bit.
That I think some folks are losing sight of that. That's just me. He was my number one quarterback in this class. I'm glad that he was taken where he was taken. Razgriz, do we expect Chris Lambs to be brought back after his legal troubles having been resolved? He seems to be highly valued within the front office. I do not expect him to be back. No. He did that while he was under contract. They don't appreciate that stuff. They don't like being in the limelight. And quite frankly, a good special teams player is probably the easiest thing to replace on an NFL roster. So I don't see it myself. What's that?
They've got quite a few of them now too.
True.
You just drafted Shamari Connor, who's going to play special teams quite a bit. You know, Najee Johnson was a special teams player last year, kind of a core special teamer now. I still think that Richie James is going to do that. They have quite a few now. So as much as he may have been seen in that light before, I think that things are different now.
Fair enough. I kind of feel like that too. And I'm going to come right back to you, Des. Don't worry. But Gary had a point here. Do the special teams get better this year? Do you feel like the hunting for a return, especially, is going to be solid and they're going to be more steady?
Yeah, I think that they're going to have that figured out quickly in camp. I do think it's going to be Richie James personally. But everything last year, I think that they have it all figured out. I do think they're going to have it all figured out, especially teams to be better this year than it was. You had a bunch of guys learning everything last season. So I think that's going to be a little bit different this year.
I certainly hope so. I got my fingers crossed. Des, what should we expect with Pat's deal? I think it rides for now, but I do feel like it's probably been moved up on the priority list. I think they were trying to hold out till 27. I don't think that happens anymore. I think it's probably 26 that it gets done. I'll show you guys the layout of it here real quick. And Dan, correct me if you disagree. But when you see it, like right here was where the guarantees fall. And you go from 44 to 62 in 27. I thought the summer between 26 and 27, so early 27 is when they were going to do it.
Yeah.
Now I think they have to move that up a year. Just because the way that everything's going, you got to get a little bit more relief, I think.
Oh, for sure. But, yeah, you can't be sitting here as much as they might be okay with it because it's Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if they necessarily want a $62 million cap hit in 2027. But, 46, 48, 44 are all kind of feasible
right,
for them. So I don't know it's necessarily like a thing they have to do in 2025. But I think they're definitely going to be revisiting it at that point. Like there's no reason not to at that point.
Yeah, I'm with you there. That makes sense. So Des, in terms of length, what I would say is I would think that they do an extension, and you could see from the years, it's a bell curve basically. It does scroll back down.
Yeah.
After 27, it's cap hits of 44, 44, and then it spikes again. Somewhere in there, I think you could see it just get extended by 3-4 years. maybe up to 6 or 7, and just kind of smooth that transition all out so that it's a little bit like slower, a bit of a decline and making it more gradual. I think that would be kind of the goal, so they can balance what's coming in terms of cap space and needs. Patrick can play until he's 40. Let's be real. Chris Jones cannot maintain that level as a defensive lineman. Nothing against Chris Jones. You see it with Aaron Donald. He's elite. Nobody can hold that to 40 on the defensive line. So you got to make preparations responsibly as to what the position is that they're playing. Sorry. Clicked a bad one there. Ray. Do the Chiefs need Noah Gray to step it up to the next level so we can give Travis some rest time during the regular season so he stays fresh for the playoffs? I think absolutely. And it's not just Noah. It has to be Jody as well. We got to see a season where Jody Fortson stays healthy. That's probably job number 1 for him.
Yeah, I think it's more Jody than it is Noah, because Noah's a fine player with what they asked him to do. He's done everything they asked him to do. They have not asked him to be a pass catching threat. They haven't. They've asked him to be a very functional player. You're going to block here. You're going to do some movement skills here. We're going to throw you a pass every now and then. They have asked Jody Fortson to kind of be a field stretching threat as a tight end. So this is as much as it is for Noah Gray. I think that he's going to find himself on this roster for years to come because he's a good, functional 12, 13 personnel tight end. He's never going to be more than that. I don't think you're going to see him take this huge leap and be a real threat in the pass catching game. I just don't see that as a possibility. But I think that in terms of Jody Fortson, things are a little bit different. But I really do think, if Noah Gray does step up and play more as a receiving threat, that'd be awesome. I personally just don't see it actually happening. I think he's a very good, versatile player to have on your roster.
So, like, if you were going to target split, what would you like to see?
Man, for Noah, I think that for him to say he's stepped up this season, I think that 30 to 40 targets is probably in the wheelhouse of him stepping up. I think that's probably what you're looking at personally.
Okay, that's cool. Let's see here. Napoleon, and thank you, Ray. Appreciate your question.
Appreciate
you too, Napoleon. Last year's special team started slow because of many new players. What players will Toe pound the table for this year? Thanks for all you do. Thanks for being here, Napoleon. Couldn't do it without you. It does feel like Deion Bush is a guy that he's going to want around, and I have trouble justifying 5 safeties. So I'm a little concerned about that if it comes down to Tobe versus Spags. You know what I mean? Edwards, James. Who else do you have on your radar that he's got to have?
Najee Johnson, absolutely. I think that he's going to be him. I think Connor is going to be a special teams guy. I think you're going to have James, maybe even Watson. I think Watson just as a kind of a safety player because he can be a special teams guy. We saw him being able to just catch the football on a punt team. Like he can do that. I think Rashee Rice might end up playing some special teams too. I think he might end up being like a gunner, maybe out there on some kick returns as well, just to have that ability. I don't know anybody else that I would say he's 100% in on in that regard.
Okay. I think he's gonna get a little more pull than he got last year, but that's because I think they have a possibility of keeping 7 wide receivers. They have a good group, and so if they do that, they have to justify it by giving Dave what he needs in that particular position. So, Miss Holly, welcome back. Nice to see you, and thank you for being one of our members. As always, folks, you can join the memberships down there below. Dan, you get in the Discord and all that good stuff. So check it out. Holly asked. Yeah, it's right below there. Lucas Niang concerns me at left tackle, owing to his injury. Yeah. I agree, Holly. And I honestly, I don't see it. But let's be honest. In my opinion, Jawaan Taylor, Lucas Niang, and Wanye Morris are all right tackles.
Yeah,
that's what their best, strongest position is. So the question becomes, if Donovan goes down, who could go play left? And I think that they'll want to take a look at Lucas. I don't think it ends up that way because I agree. I'm scared not only for his injury recurring, but I don't like the few reps that he had in college at left anyway. So I want to avoid that myself.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm sure Lucas would like to play, but hey, Lachlan, thank you. We appreciate you, buddy. We do our best around here to give you
Thank you so
the
much.
real goods. A lot of folks like to argue about our opinions, and yes, we do give our opinions as well, but they are educated, and we try to tell you that from the get-go. Words out of my mouth will never be law, but they'll be educated opinion anyway. Jackson said, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not very worried about CJ not showing up to camp. He was literally in Arrowhead not long ago. Yeah, that's kind of how we were at too. And honestly, if he did miss, even if he doesn't come in on time to camp, if he comes in a week late or 2 weeks late, they're having almost an extra week of practice at camp this year. He is a veteran that doesn't need the practice. And honestly, it gives him more time to check out how Turk's doing and see what Keandre Coburn can do. So I think that's a plus all the way around. So I too will not be disturbed.
Not even a little bit.
Okay, rock and roll. And Jackson also said, I think if D-Hop joins the roster this year, there's a small possibility he gets his first 1,000-yard season, but I think it's more likely we see it the year after. Okay, I wanted to make sure you said this way because I wanted to pull up the stats, and I'll show you the reason I'm so excited about DeAndre Hopkins, and that's because he's had 7, and they were consecutive 1,000-yard seasons, topping at 1,609 in 2018. And again, that's just before he went to Arizona, or 2 years before he went to Arizona. He did get a 1,000+ yard season in Arizona. That's saying something.
Yeah, right.
That might be the bigger accomplishment, right? So
Absolutely.
He certainly has the track record. And the question, and I understand where you're coming from, Jackson, because I think they want to feed Tony, and you got to feed Sky. Like, the 1,000 yards is more of an obstacle in Kansas City because you have other talent that you need to feed, not because of any limitation that DeAndre has, in my opinion.
No, I think it adds to that. And spreading the ball around is becoming kind of a thing in Kansas City. That's something that they're really, really good at now. And I think that DeAndre Hopkins not only adds to that, but it makes their run game better. If you have to watch out for Kadarius Toney, Travis Kelce, Sky Moore, and DeAndre Hopkins, who's got their eyes on the running back? who's got their eyes there? Like, there's so many different things that he would bring to it. So I'm excited about the possibility, but I'm not putting chips in that basket, if you guys know what I mean.
Mac, glad to see that you're here. You guys, thanks for being here. We're going to wrap it up with John's question here in a second, but join us tomorrow night for Q&A. Dan will have it on lockdown. We have some stuff coming for you this week while I'm running around as well. So I'm excited. It's the last lull. We got about a week. By this time next weekend, we're going to be getting fired up. Be prepared because, it's almost here. And I hate to say it, after a long off season, I'm ready. So the question is, how often will the amount a team has in cap space be increased? And there's a number of ways. Obviously, contract structure will bring down the cap every year if you structure correctly. But I think what you mean is overall cap. And that happens every year based on the income from the league. It's going to get a burst here from Amazon. It's going to get a burst now from moving over to YouTube TV. We're expecting it to go up 35 million next year. That's a rough estimate. We're expecting it almost close to 50 the year after that, if everything comes to fruition, right? So we're talking about in 3 years adding 100 million to every team's capable spending. That's huge. And John, that's determined by the deal in the CBA. There's the complex math, the deal of the percentages and TV rights and all that stuff. But it is set every year. It will go up unless something unforeseen happens and soccer takes over the world.
Or like COVID. I don't know.
Right. I don't know. It ain't going to hurt YouTube. I'm pretty much telling you that. So expect a nice rise in it, John. More money to spend means better football on the field, in my opinion. Ray, thanks for being here. Tracy, thanks for being here. All of you, thank you for being with us tonight. We're going to continue this week, and we're getting ready for camp. I hope you are as well. So, Dan, enjoy that time with the little one. Say hello for me.
Absolutely.
And we will see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one. We'll be back soon.